Did you start the recording, Carrie?
They're welcome to.
Did you start the recording? Yes. Okay. That we will call the Economic Development meeting to order, and it is about 9:08 on October 10th.
And it's usually a
Our
appointment with
first
somebody else.
item on the agenda
So here's
is a survey, and this is just a discussion item,
That's
an informal
what I have
survey
tomorrow.
that I
It was
did
out there.
of downtown businesses.
my message
And
60.
this is not the first time I've done the survey. I've
I've
done
had
it
this
several times,
from time to time. That happens.
typically in
And it's
relationship to
usually
the footwear service that
It's
we
on my
provide
calendar and it
during the
doesn't show
summer.
Because like here's
I typically go down and ask the merchants
I put that appointment in
if
there.
it influenced their business, if it was important to them,
And it shows up here. How many
and
problems
what
do you have
hours they
here?
liked. This time I extended my questions and I asked the businesses their hours and if the Foot Ferry expand or influence their business, and if they had any feelings at all on whether ground floor businesses or occupancy were retail, professional services, or anything else. Those were the three questions I asked, and it was very informal. And so what you have is just on the first column that says yes or no, this is, did I talk to the people in person, or did I just get information off their doors or wherever I could find it. I didn't go into 7-Eleven because we know they're open 7 days a week and have extended hours, and I can't imagine that the Sunday Foot Ferry influences their business at all. And Kitsap Bank, again, is closed Saturday and Sunday, so I didn't see that the Foot Ferry would be influencing them. And you can go on down and just look at how people responded. I did finally get to Lolly Mays, it says no, but I went down and talked to Jody. And she's closed Sunday and Monday. She would like to see boutique shops downtown with regular hours. And you can, I don't have to read all these to you, you can read and see what they say. What my takeaway was, if you go all the way to the back, and again, this was informal, but there's roughly, was it 52 businesses, is that what I said? Closed, 14 are closed on Sunday, or 27%, 6 were empty at 12%. So that you can see that approximately 40% of the businesses downtown are not open on Sundays. So if they're not open on Sundays, I'm not sure how the Foot Ferry impacts the business. So that was one aspect. In my conversations with the merchants, many of them seem to be struggling in a number of ways. And the whole section between the Dragonfly and like Wisteria Lane, there's some new little shops in there. And they're closed Monday through Friday, and they're only open Saturday and Sunday. So we have a lot of different types of hours going on downtown.
I would imagine with those type of hours, those are a second job or hobby.
That is
where
correct.
They've got a primary job and they're collectors of things and are selling them on the weekends.
That is my impression also. So, and one of the other things that prompted me to go down and ask that particular question is after I reviewed the Planning Commission public hearing on potential changes to the DOD and restricting the DOD, the central DOD, to retail only on the bottom was supported, the planning commission didn't want to see any changes in. And so I went back and I wanted to see how many retail we really had and how effective they really were. I found out that some of what I'm going to call recyclers, not necessarily antiques, but what I would call recyclers.
Secondhand goods.
Secondhand goods do a lot of business on eBay, and so they have a storefront, but their storefront hours are not critical to them because they do a lot of their business on eBay. One of the things interesting in this was when I talked to Amy. She's been in business downtown 10 and a half years, and she says she has been through presidential elections, she has been through recessions, and she said nothing has moved the needle on her business. It has been consistent until June when we started the culvert project in Gorse, and she said she can mark, that event to having a major impact on the business. So when she said that, I suspected that perhaps many of the other businesses downtown were the same. When I talked to Jody at Lolly Mays, if you remember, she used to be on the other side of the street, and then she moved. And she was telling me that when she was on the other side of the street, she was open on Sundays, and Sundays, her revenue from Sunday always paid for her rent. And she said it was a fun day to work. She said the atmosphere was different, and when she moved to the south side of the street, she quit being open on Sundays. So my takeaway from all of it, the other thing that I did is I found extending hours. It's on retail hours. It's just a little white paper on retail hours. But it was written in 2005. And basically what it's talking about is downtown's retail in downtown's hours needs to mirror that of malls. That any retail hour needs to be open when people are shopping. And more people shop by their survey in the evenings after work than they do during the daytime, during the week. But as I read this, and this was done in 2005, I realized that retail has changed since 2005 also, because there's a lot more internet shopping now than there used to. So when we talk about retail and decisions that were made on the downtown overlay district to restrict it to retail was done in the 2000s. And I think we've seen a change in
Just trying to make sure I got the right information.
shopping patterns since then. So with that, what I wanted to bring to the group, as a city council, what can we do? And we can't, I do not believe, establish hours for businesses. I don't believe we can tell them what they can sell and not sell, or any of those types of things. But we can provide, and I guess the question is, can we provide some sort of education? I was wondering, are there any, like maybe through the Department of Commerce or anything, are there any grants that perhaps we could get and perhaps partner with like the Chamber of Commerce or the POBSA to provide education to, our Port Orchard merchants, not just downtown, but around, through our entire population of.
I know that, and I haven't seen many of them at all. It's kind of the kind of stuff that Roger Brooks
Correct.
tends to preach.
And that's where I started, because I had listened to a Roger Brooks seminar, or thing on retail hours in downtown. And so I started with Roger Brooks, and he was basing a lot of his data off of this particular author, and so I went and got this.
And back to this ground floor office space discussion, are the buildings that we have conducive to the kind of office space that we want for our downtown? Or is this a carrot, or can it be a carrot for redevelopment? That we're willing to expand the uses if, for certain reasons, and Nick, I getting out of bounds here and what we can do. I think an office space, if we're to expand those uses down there, ideally we want retail, but if we're going to allow it to be rebuilt and allow that office space use, I think we still want it to have the glazing and storefront of a retail space. We're going to want it to have the heights that retail wants so that it can convert later, because if it's built with the lower ceilings that's all office space needs, then it won't ever convert to retail space somewhere down the road.
And that was, I didn't have the exact same conversation with every merchant because it kind of went in different directions. But one merchant was concerned about deferred maintenance in the building he was in. And I said, well, would you expect if it redeveloped that it would redevelop in this building, or do you think this building would come down? So there are a lot of questions. And one discussion is, do we just restrict? What do we do about that restriction? The other question that I was bringing forward is would it be appropriate for us to see if we could find a partner and provide education to these struggling businesses? Because there may be just some easy things they could do that would improve their business, but they don't have the necessarily the education or the skill set to do that.
It's been a few years, but there's a particular business that was downtown that festival weekend and had guests in town, and we went to go visit this business, and they were closed on the weekend. And went and visited that business, and it was a restaurant or sandwich shop. Monday morning, and here I am trying to continue to support this struggling business, and myself and the owner are the only people in there at noon. And the owner's complaining about the lack of business. And I said, wow, you should have been open this weekend. I said, downtown was packed. And I said, I had guests in town and we came down to have lunch and you weren't here. And I got growled at that I deserve to have a weekend too. That business isn't around anymore. If that's what you want to do, I think you need to find time when there aren't customers. But you can't
Right. See, and I was
make people open when they should be open, which would be common sense, I guess.
The other point that came to my mind is we provide this foot ferry on Sundays, and roughly 30% of the businesses are closed on Sundays. But some of those are service businesses, like the dance studio, that wouldn't necessarily impact.
They're open when they have classes.
Correct. But and it's my understanding that the Chris Craft Rendezvous that has been down there for 25 years is considering looking at other locations for next year because downtown was closed this year. So do we as a council have any weight to go to POBSA or any and say, look, if we're going to provide the foot ferry service, we need businesses to be open?
We can make the statement. I personally hope that I think there's benefit to it. And if it's not us connecting to Bremerton, on the weekend, and it's Bremerton coming to see us, so I think there's benefit to our citizens too, to activities that are going on in Bremerton too. I mean, we as the council, I think, want that activity coming over here, obviously,
exactly.
too, for revenue reasons.
Right.
But
We've been very supportive of it over the years, but not all of our partners are as supportive.
Of the 40% that aren't open on Sundays, how many of those are the recycle shops or the gift shops or retail?
I'd have to
Those,
go back
those,
through it.
those shops, the knick-knack shops are open on the weekend.
Well,
They
yeah.
tend to be.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my observation, you know, it's the service shops, and, you know,
Well,
that's,
not just
I'm curious, how
Just a
many of
second.
the 40% consists of those? And how many
Okay,
are-
Lolly Mays is closed on Sundays.
they should be.
Rings and Things is closed on Sundays. The Gazebo Floor Shop is closed on Sundays. Buddy's Good Eye is closed on Sunday. Front Porch, I couldn't read their Saturday and Sunday hours. I couldn't remember they were open. Mallory's not open on Sundays. The Essential Salon is not open on Sundays. Keely's Closet is closed Sundays. Allstate, Miltech Marine are closed Sundays. Karen's Craft is closed Sundays. Rose Nails is closed Sundays. Coffee Oasis is closed Sundays. And, yeah, I didn't check the pawn shop hours.
Just curious. I'm just curious, you know, without the ferry service, do they do better, do they do worse, do the same on Sundays?
Well, see, and that's just it. That part of the conversation probably has to wait until we actually have the numbers, because I had some businesses tell me that Sunday service is absolutely critical to their business. However, I think when we get the numbers and 30 people have ridden the ferry, I'm not sure that.
I think before we go talk to POPSA, we need the data
Yeah,
to support you know, whatever dialogue we're having.
right.
I have a question. Obviously, the election, the foot ferry or the passenger only ferry is on. Is that going to be a weekend thing or only a weekday thing?
That, the high-speed ferry?
Yeah.
It varies. It's gonna be modeled after what they're doing in the King County service. So during the summer months, from Labor Day to Memorial Day, you know, there's expanded service. It's running later into the evening, and there's Saturday and Sunday service.
Okay.
I
So
think
that may
there's,
influence.
Yeah, that
Isn't
was
it
my
commuter
point.
only
is
in
that-
the fall and winter for commuter only?
and then it's more of a commuter-based service in the winter months. I think there might be some Saturday service, but don't quote me on that. It's scaled back in the winter months. I mean, really, look at this weekend as an example. On Saturday, it's raining sideways. Do you want to go out and blowing like crazy? Do you want to go get on a boat and bob around like a
Right.
cork going to Seattle?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I did the survey just so that we would have data and information when we got the foot ferry numbers back. I also wanted to share it before, because I know that the DOD discussion is going to be on our work study, and so I wanted people to have this information before that work study. And again, my thought went to how can we make our businesses more successful, and was wondering if there were perhaps some educational opportunities for us, and that would not be just for downtown, but would be, you know, so.
I would, if anything, I would say it would be, you know, gleaning the Robert Brooks, you know, educational opportunities that are there, and maybe we host one
Some
of
of
those.
those.
at the-
I guess, would the committee like me to explore that more, or see if there are grants available? There's several. I'm sure KEDA has some things. And maybe work with people at POPS or the chamber to see if we can, because we don't want to administer it. I can't imagine us getting into something that
Well, I
would
don't want to see
administer
us
it.
administering, like, you know, Jerry McDonald's has made his life mission, and
Oh, exactly.
and every week they have a Roger Brooks you know, session
Right.
at their theater over there. But maybe, you know, if we've got some targeted pieces that we
Correct.
want to do, and we can partner with the folks at the Dragonfly, maybe there's an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to suggest is, and I don't know, I don't think that POPSA is a Main Streets organization, but
Right.
the Main Streets organization has annual educational opportunities and conferences, and I think they even have grant programs.
I think they do too, and I will just go ahead and say it, but there were two groups that looked at Main Street a few years ago, and one of those was PASA. And they got into it, and quite honestly, if you don't have a champion, if you don't have the person with the passion that is going to take that from, you know, the genesis and bring it through, and without full support, it's not going to happen. And that's kind of where it has lost interest, because there's no one, quite honestly, with the skill set to take that up and move with it.
I think this is good information, and to me, the elephant in the room for this is, did anyone bring up parking? I know that's not our focus.
One did.
Okay.
One did. One of the recycler,
Vintage people, yeah.
said that she didn't understand why there was just 2-hour parking along Bay Street, because you can't have lunch and shop at the same time. And I said, I understand that. I said, would you like someone parked in front of your shop for 4 hours? And she said, no.
Yeah, and that's the challenge. Is there's 1,000 parking stalls downtown. It's not a lack of parking. Everybody wants either an employer or a business owner to park in front of their doorstep, and then complain that there's no parking for their customers.
I think, go ahead.
I was just saying, most of the people that I spoke to really didn't care whether they're retail or not retail. When you read this, you'll see that. What they really wanted was storefronts open and people downtown. You know, they knew intuitively that that was what was going to help their business, was people downtown and, you know, storefronts open.
I think as a group, the best thing we can do is provide some education outlet, like you mentioned, Roger Brooks, and provide, and if there's the impetus to be open and businesses want to be viable on the weekends, then our second obligation then would be to help them would be to have access to the downtown area from Bremerton via the foot ferry or something like that. Beyond that, it's their business. They're going to have to try themselves. You know, that's about all we can put forward.
I was going to say the other thing that going along with that is there are other projects in the pipeline that potentially are going to help get people downtown on the weekends, including, I think the new Ford dealership is actually going to draw a lot of people downtown, and that's going to be in place within, you know, a year. And
This
also
time
the
next year, we should be cutting a ribbon on that.
including the pedestrian path.
The pathway, connecting the two segments of the pathway. I mean, we get so much use right now. Imagine when we have a functional pathway.
Right.
And I believe having more open space on our waterfront is a draw to people, and that's why the preliminary budget has, at least drawing up a concept so that I can have Brianna shop for a pot of gold for me down in Olympia.
The other thing, to just echo what Nick said, is right now, I believe your destinations within the central DOD are the library and the marina and Kitsap Bank and probably Peninsula Feed. You know, those are your destinations. People come downtown specifically for those and then perhaps enjoy the other businesses.
And I would say the bistro tends to be a destination. It's not just people that live downtown.
Correct.
Go there to dine, or Amy's, Dock and Moon Dock. So we've got some dining opportunities too, that people are coming from more than just this, 1,000 foot circle that's downtown.
Yeah, I think the conversation though is that projects are happening, things are changing, and let's look at these opportunities for how we can better harness that change.
Yes.
And I think you guys are spot on. We need to educate these folks if we can of the importance of being open. When there's customers downtown, particularly the summer months, you got to be open on the weekends if you want to have customers. That's when your customers are here.
Again, there's a lot of people that go to that library.
Another attraction, not necessarily in the downtown core, but just outside of it, is the new St. Vinny's that's being built up there. That'll just add to the recycle business that we have, or the collectible business that we we have. It's another attraction. I think these are all bricks in the wall. We're slowly building a wall. We don't go away for a year and come back and see it. But I think in a year, we will have done not only the education and bringing people to the downtown area, providing access through the foot ferry or other things. I think we'll have some changes that are going to.
I will look and see what we can do with partnering, because again, I don't want us to get into administrating any of this education stuff. But we surely can partner and
Whether it's
facilitate.
KEDA or Roger Brooks or
Right, so-
whatever, and if somebody it really needs to be POPSA championing it, I think, if they will. I mean, it's a benefit to their members.
Correct. It's important to me that it's not limited to downtown, it includes
No,
all Portage.
I would agree.
Yeah, okay. The second one on the agenda is our special events ordinance. We need a drum roll for this one.
So the changes that have been brought forward to the committee. One was in the definitions. I rearranged those to be alphabetical. Fixed a couple typos there. And then processing applications. Oh shoot, I forgot to put page numbers again. So it's 5.94050. Processing applications. What I had done is made it clearer. So there it is. So I made it clear because right before it said, if an event was held in the same location and same time frame from the immediate previous year, the previous event organizer will be allowed to hold their event first and must notify the clerk's office by February 1st of each year. And then there was some concern as to would other requirements still be required, meaning the 30 or the 90-day requirement, 60-day. So when I just tied it back in, it says requirements under this chapter, section 5.940303 still applies. So they still need to confirm, and the clerk's office will verify that in writing if we receive a phone call that, hey, on January 5th, yep, they're going to have their event on July 4th, we're good to go, but they still have to have that application before the deadline. And it's the same thing if the event organizer will not be holding the event, in the event the event organizer will not be holding the event or has not notified the clerk's office, then it's first come, first served. Again, they still have to be within the timeline. So I made that a little bit clearer. And then what I had added under section 808, which I'm not quite sure now that I'm thinking about if it belongs there, but the intent of what needed to be added, I believe, was something along the lines of downtown parking lot usage. So should an event require the entire use of the downtown parking lots as described in Portage Municipal Code 10.12.580, which are lots 2 and 4, and I'll confirm that with Public Works, commonly known as the waterfront parking, occurring on more than 2 consecutive weekdays, not including federal holidays, shall submit a relocation or mitigation plan indicating alternative parking. So basically, it's my understanding that you guys felt comfortable that if there was one day that was closed during the week, but once it hit 2 or more, there was a concern. So because you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, well, if it's closed Monday, there might be some issues, but typically when it's closed 3 days, there's a holiday involved. So that's the language that I put in there, and just want to make sure that I capture that from the committee's concern if it was ordered correctly. And then this will go to for legal counsel to wordsmith it to get the exact language, but make sure I capture that correctly.
So we're saying it's okay if they have 2 days of taking away
A single day.
More than 2, so
So
2's
we're saying
okay.
2's okay?
Mhm.
2 consecutive.
So it'd be a Friday and a Monday. Typically, that's Monday's the holiday. So because what they have to do is they have to close it Friday afternoon sometimes just to get set up for their event. So, but if I need to reduce that, then I can. But that's just my thought is that typically they're 3 days anyways, and it's a holiday. So one, or you
I'm
just
still
limit
confused
it.
about this.
Yeah,
Why don't we exclude holidays from the count?
It is.
Okay,
It
and
is already.
then one additional day.
Yeah, and the way it's reading right now, they get 2, it has to be more
Two.
than 2.
Oh, yeah, 2 or more, yeah. Yeah,
Occurring
on more than
than
2,
two
so it
days.
should say
So-
more than 1, I guess, and then if there's 2 days, then it would trigger.
But
So it
even
should
if
be
it's
more than
one day.
1.
Let's say they wanted to take all the parking on a Friday or a Monday, we would say that's okay.
As long as they,
As long as they had a relocation or mitigation
no,
plan, or
they're
they
saying
don't
if
need
they,
one.
to me, there's a couple of things, and one is, we're saying if we change that to more than 1 consecutive day, then
Excluding weekends and holidays.
excluding weekends and holidays, then if they want it for a Friday or a Monday, they don't have to do anything. But if they want a Thursday and Friday, then they're going to have
More than 1.
a mitigation. But what we didn't address in here at all is, and I don't know if we want to, I'm just bringing it up. What we have not discussed is there a maximum number of days they can use the parking lot? Such as a week, 5 work days or 10 work days? And do we want to charge anything for use of the parking lot? We didn't talk about fees. And the reason I bring up a maximum is the carnival last year was going to need it more. They started setting up like on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then they were done on Sunday, and they needed a couple more days to take down. So they were using the parking lot almost 10 full days.
So after a number, whatever that threshold is, 3 days, 5 days, they need to not only provide a mitigation plan, but also compensation to the city for lost
Yeah, I'm
revenue.
just saying, the other thing is, the other event that didn't happen, but there was conversation of hydroplane races out there. And they were going to be using our parking lot for grandstands. Well, those don't go up and down in a day. So there would have been an extended, and I'm assuming more than a week. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing that out. Do we want a maximum number of days? Or,
Well, I think if you're controlling it by requiring reimbursement to the city for the lost revenue, you can have it for a month, but you're going to provide a mitigation plan for those folks to, park somewhere else, and 2, you're going to provide
Lost revenue.
reimburse the city for the lost revenue. So you're only going to take it for as long as you need it with those scenarios.
Yeah, if we had charged, there might be a more casual attitude.
Right, so there is no need for a maximum.
Yeah.
As
But
long as-
what's the threshold to
But we-
trigger that reimbursement?
Not if
That's the
it's
question.
one, so, okay. Yeah.
That's a question, not a statement.
yeah, no.
I'm not sure they should even be able to have it free for one day, whatever day of the week that is.
You don't think they should have it free
Why
at all?
would we want to lose revenue for one day and say that's okay, but if it's 2 days, it's not? Why would we give them one free
Probably
day?
is public
Well, and these
benefit.
are only on new events, because our current existing events can get it at no charge because they're grandfathered in our current resolution that they're not required to pay any.
We're receiving other revenue, from sales tax revenue to something, cultural for our citizens to do. I think there's other benefits other than just the revenue.
Well, but I'm actually more concerned, let's say they want it for a Monday, and I don't know that they would because they tend to want weekends. But theoretically, if they wanted a weekday, we are losing the revenue for people who are displaced. And I don't know why that's okay.
What does
I mean,
that add up to again, Fred? I'm sorry.
Was it 2,000 a month or was it 2,000
week.
a day? 2,000 a week. Okay, 400 a day. Oh. Now, I don't know that someone would just want it for a weekday, but you never know what they.
Well, they're going to want it Friday. If they've got a
Okay.
holiday weekend, they may need it Friday to start setting up their
The
event.
only event that I can think of that uses it on Friday is the Fathoms of Fun vendor fair. I can't think of any other one that has used it on Friday.
The Saints come down on
Sunday.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And set up. Now they'll start dropping Santa cans, but they really don't impact.
They're the ideal, in that sense of not impacting the actual commuter parking.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the events we have the farmer's market down there on Saturdays, and then usually the other events are Sundays. And I think it's a great use of the parking lot on weekends.
Yeah.
I question tying it up for a long time on the week without mitigating the parking and offsetting the cost. And the question just is, what's the threshold that we're willing?
And do we, if we're gonna want reimbursement or cost, do we want to have finance to have to go calculate what our current revenue is, or do we just want to come up with a flat dollar amount of
I'd say the latter.
$3 or $500 or whatever it is, and that's what it costs to use use the lot, so it's simple. And and it's apparent to anybody that's proposing it, well, this is what my cost is versus an unknown.
About $399.
Well, we're only talking about, one or so events that we are even aware of that could impact the city that way. So instead of trying to create language around something that's anticipated, we don't even know if it's going to come, maybe we can construct language that said when it gets to a certain point, it comes before the city council, so we can go through all the facts.
I don't think we ever
You
want to
wanna
bring this before
micromanage that?
we want to have a policy.
Yeah, and I don't think we want it discretionary.
Well, and I think also too, it's gonna come into play in that cost factor, and Alan would know more than I. But anytime that we're leasing property, there's that leasehold tax and there's a threshold. So I think the current threshold is $250. So you have to charge $249 in no more than $249 a year. And if it's more than $249 a year, then they have to be charged leasehold excise tax. So which is like 12.84%, which is but it's another cost. So,
Well, I think we want to come up with whatever that dollar amount is and add the leasehold excise
Yeah,
tax to it,
to include, yeah.
to include. I mean, I don't think we want to make this too onerous, but,
No.
but
Not too easy either. I think it should be fair.
yeah.
My other
$300 a day, I mean, is that a fair number?
And if you add the tax on it.
Plus the leasehold excise tax.
And I'll probably state that because it may change, even though it's been consistent for the last ever, but just in case. Okay, so what
And
was
then
that?
after
Sorry,
how many
300?
days? Is it every day or is it after?
So for the second and more, or fourth and more, or?
I'd say every day.
I don't know.
Second
Hmm?
day? Second day?
Second day, and then put it before the
One-
full
one
council,
pass.
and you guys can
Yeah,
decide for
I
the
would be
days.
more inclined.
So they
to-
get one free, and then the
Yeah.
second day, business day, then they have to pay the $300, correct?
For each additional day.
That sounds a little better.
We also don't necessarily want to discourage like the carnival. We don't want to make it cost prohibitive for them if they want to do it, but,
We don't want to lose money either.
I think it's a nice mix. We're getting a little bit back. We're not getting exactly what our parking is. But we know that if we bring an event to town, that it's going to come back around to us in other forms of revenue. So I think it's a nice mix.
And then the other thing that, try not to bring attention to it, but I think I have to at least bring it to the committee's attention. So we put the effective date is January 1st, 2017. And when we do that, it's any applications that's received on January 1st, 2017 or after has to pay that fee. So just in case that there's any applicants who wish to put in their applications beforehand will not be required to pay the fee. They can't because they're vested. So, I don't know if vested is the right word, but that's my term. So the question is do we want to make this effective upon council's approval, which means it would also take place should anybody put in their application earlier, or do we want to put it January 1st and when applications come in, they come in? So applications received prior to January 1st
Okay,
will
so
be
I'm
under the
gonna-
current process.
yeah, and I'm going to complicate it in that I think whenever it needs to take effect is a date here, but I think it should be for any event held in 2017.
Not the application received date.
Yeah.
And I did
But we
confirm that
can-
with legal counsel.
We probably can't do that.
Cannot do
Cannot
that. Once
do
they've
that.
submitted the application, it goes based on the current rules in place.
Well, let's pass
There's
it.
only, and I did do some research, and there's only one,
Get it done and make it effective in
there's
January.
only one event that will fall into this that hasn't put in their application, and I'd be happy to reach out to them and say, this is what we're doing. And if that person puts in that application, then all the legacy previous event organizers will be, have already been put in for 2016.
They'll be
And
vested.
so there's no issues for 2017. It would just be new events that were going to be for 2017 that they submitted that they would have to pay, which is, I think, the intent
Oh,
of the
so they
ordinance
would, you're
anyways.
talking Fathers of Fun, and they would do all of it. They would do all of their events.
I don't know if it would be them or if it would be
Oh.
somebody else, but I'm just, I start thinking if somebody came in and put it in, the end of December, technically, the new ordinance is not in effect, so it does not apply to them. So is the consensus to have it effective upon adoption? Alleviate.
Did I hear you say that the legacy projects don't have to pay the application fee?
No, they don't have to pay, I'll have to look how that's worded, because they don't have to pay for public works and police support services. I'll have to check to see if there's anything else. The fee, I think that they have to pay, but I don't know if we're charging them fee for use of city property, if they're exempt from that or not, but I'll check the resolution to see what exactly are they exempt from. Is it just police and public works support? Which if so, then that's great, then we can charge them for the parking lot use and the application fee.
Which doesn't affect anybody. Because
They're all weekends.
they're all on weekends.
The application fee is.
The only, and they would be grandfathered this first year if they've already got their application in prior to us implementing this. But in 2018, they would be subject to the application fee. Would be the way I would understand it.
For that current resolution? No, it's indefinite. The resolution is indefinite.
They realize that, but if they've already applied for next year,
Oh, gotcha.
then they fall under the current rules.
Yes.
Once we implement this, they'll be subject to the new rules.
Well, no, because the new, in here, we had to recognize
I'm
for
only referring
police.
to the application fee.
Oh, yeah, that they have to pay, I think, yeah. But I'll double check.
Have you received, or has anybody received anything from the You Can Do It Marathon yet?
You usually get them last minute.
Well,
Yes.
Except for last year, I think we did get it before them because there were some payment issues that we had to have it before we can even move forward. So I think they're in the same criteria, so.
Okay, because I signed up for it over the weekend. Just to let you know, they are planning on having it.
I got one bit of the order. I don't know if it's good or not, but Nick and I road trip to Lake Forest Park on Friday and visited with Monsoor. He's an interesting individual. I don't believe there's any rhyme or reason, or definitely not any. Doesn't appear any economic reasons for what he buys or why. I think it's somewhat whimsical.
what's available or what he hears about.
Yeah, or what he sees and likes, and his marketing. What he feels like he should do with something is based on how much his phone rings, I think. So maybe we all need to call and pretend to be potential investors. His phone doesn't ring for Port Orchard, so we were there trying to advocate for there's a supplemental request, which would be a master planning of the downtown, and there's no sense of doing a master plan for the downtown to put on a shelf if the property owner doesn't want to participate, and he doesn't believe in studies or plans. He said that, so.
And he wants to see or things start to happen organically, and then once that happens, then he might, get involved. But he clearly doesn't want to take the first step.
So it just reaffirms my belief that I need to continue to meet with other developers and figure out what those barriers and obstacles in our code are. We continue to work through those issues as they're identified, and us, look for those opportunities that aren't, in this downtown core that he basically controls.
Right. Oh, sorry. I only met with one time. You've met with several times. Is he open to just selling this property? If a developer came in and said, "Look, I'll buy your whole damn block,"
I think he would, but he would, but I think it'll be to that when the market, that's that organic, things are going to happen around him to drive that activity, and I think it reaffirms also to my belief that we need, for other businesses to succeed and for the downtown core to succeed, we need 400 or 500 more people living and having activity, which will drive rents, for retail and make market demand. And he will, at that point, do a project. I don't believe he'll ever be the one to do a project. He talked about a project on the east side that he made millions on just holding the piece of property. I mentioned I was trying to create some energy and talk to him about our 640 Bay Street and how it could be logical to vacate the street and do a significant project there. All he was interested in is buying our piece of dirt. And I said, it's not for sale. I said, we'll sell it. I believe we're willing to sell this for what we're into it, which is $160,000. I said, but it's part of a project. It's not. We aren't.
Not a land bank.
Yeah, we're not. If anyone's going to hold on a land bank, we might as well.
Yeah.
Then use it for park space. For festivals. In the meantime. So, I'm not surprised by the answers that I got, but I thought it was important to to continue to have a strong relationship with him, even though he's not doing what I want him to do. He picks up the telephone when I call, and when I ask to have a meeting with him, we coordinate a meeting date. So I think it's important that I continue to foster that relationship with him, because he's got old buildings, and we're still going to need to make him do things from time to time, and he at least talks to me.
Right, the other thing is the amount of money that he put into his one building. I would just as soon see him not do anything with his building, because then if you put that much money into another building along that block, I don't know, I just see the block selling as one.
Yes.
And developing as one.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's what we were trying to facilitate is a master plan that would have an EIS process for all your environmental approvals, provided you built what the master plan was, so that the whole downtown was turnkey.
Right.
After we've gone through a community process, and
I have a question, and then I have a comment. The swim deck building, the pawn shop building, I heard it's sold.
I haven't heard.
News to me.
It is. I wouldn't be surprised that it's sold, because I've seen activity that would lead me to believe that a bank financed something down there, because there was environmental due diligence and a tank removed, and nobody would do that unless they were probably told they had to do that.
Unless the bank were wanting to expand their driving. Rumor on the street is Kitsap Bank purchased it.
That's what I've heard.
But I've not been able to confirm that with Kitsap Bank. And the reason I brought that up is because what Nick said about on one end of the town, if you have Bruce Titus doing significant and becoming more of a destination, And I think we want to encourage Kitsap Bank to keep their administrative offices here, and that would really anchor the other end of town. And when people talk retail, I would like them to really think about what retail is. And if anyone thinks Blanchard's Department Store is going to reopen downtown, or Hardware, or Parks Furniture, that's not going to happen.
That's
So when
correct.
people talk retail, I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that their concept of retail is the same as what I think of retail as. Anyway, that's just a comment that. Is there anything?
I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, is there anything else for the good of the order? Other than, did you try and cut off both of your fingers, or?
No, it was in the door jam. It shouldn't have
Oh,
been. It's not very pleasant to look at your fingers, and they're just kind of like that corrugated metal on the sides of the buildings that you don't like.
oh,
And 10 hours later, I was excused. They had to take me to an ambulance because my blood pressure shot up to 260.
oh, wow.
So,
You did that at home?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Are they broken?
Or dislocated or broken?
smash.
Yeah. That one's broken, and that one's the tip of its fractured. So,
Wow.
just fun thing to have happen to you.
No. Well, we can adjourn our meeting if there's nothing else. Thank you all.